Welcome back to the TriFecta Airsoft podcast. I'm your host, E-Rock. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already so you never miss another podcast. Also, do me a favor. Go on to whatever podcast app you listen to us on and give us a rating and review. That really helps us rank in the searches. Thank you so much. Let's get into the podcast.
And then I went to yoga and I completely forgot. Today there was some very strange things going on in the UK airsoft community, and there was a big event on last weekend. There's a 3,000 person national airsoft event. I didn't go to it, but somebody started a rumor that I was there shooting people with an air rifle, .22 caliber to be precise.
So my God.
I've kind of been dealing with that crap today, and it's quite something.
Well, so I have talked to somebody recently that said they were going to the was it the National Airsoft Festival? Is that the thing?
That's the one, yeah.
Yeah, I've talked to a few people in the UK that that go to that. So I think I saw something you might have posted on your Instagram about that, like yesterday or something. Mm-hmm. And with the BBs, the pellet gun or whatever it was, I was like, what is going on now? Jesus.
It's mad, mate. It's surreal at times. Just surreal.
I'm sure. Well, welcome, man.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, dude. It's great I honestly, when I commented on your post the other day, I really didn't expect a response, because you get so many, comments, and, your channel's busy, obviously. Yeah. So I was really surprised.
I do try to respond to as many people as I can. Yeah. I can't ever respond to everybody, but someone like yourself, if you want to do podcasts, I'm very happy to come on. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, of course, man. Yeah, this is great. This is like I've never had somebody with your size of a YouTube channel on here, so this is cool.
Thanks.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
That's good. So, what sort of things do you want to talk about?
So I thought, normally what I do, most people I have on here, this is like their first time being on a podcast, and a little background on how I started these. I didn't plan on starting a podcast. I just wanted to kind of add some content to our channel, because our channel was based on unboxings and reviews. So I started the channel because two of my older sons got into airsoft with a friend of theirs, and I was coming out of being paralyzed with an illness, so I needed something to do. So I was like, hey, let me film all your stuff. So anyway, I didn't care about airsoft. I didn't know anything about airsoft, never played airsoft. I still haven't played airsoft, okay? But I started talking to people, doing a podcast. I'm like, I'm just going to record some of this, conversations I'm having with people, and throw it on the channel. So it was really impromptu, had no plan for it. And then as I started doing more, I got really, I guess, more interested in finding out about people's stories, how they got into airsoft, just all kind of shit like that. So that's where I came from with this whole thing. Didn't know anything about doing a podcast. Honestly, still don't know much about running a podcast. So I don't really have a format. Okay. But,
let's just chat.
We're just chatting. That's it. So I thought, I am interested in talking about this whole thing with, that's going on with you, personally, with the airsoft community and these different fields that make special rules because they know you're going to play there, which I think is bullshit. So, and I think it goes beyond just, I think it's a cultural thing, a societal thing that's going on. And I think it starts from this cancel culture thing, where I feel like that is kind of creating a bunch of snitches. So, anyway, so I definitely want to talk about that, and get your thoughts on that. And also, like I said, most people I talk with on here, I like to find out their background and stuff like that. So, if you want to, I guess go into a little bit about yourself for the one person that maybe is brand new to airsoft that hasn't heard of your channel yet? You know?
I started playing airsoft in 2010. I found it accidentally. Before I played airsoft, I was a financial futures trader in the city, trading interest rate futures, and I found airsoft through a friend of mine who ran a prop shop who I was clearing through, and his son had a Nerf party, and two of these 10-year-old kids brought along these BB guns, and we were like, damn, you can't use those BB guns. So they got confiscated. And then we drunk a couple of bottles of wine and discovered that they weren't actually BB guns as such. They were these things called airsoft guns.
Oh shit! Yeah.
And we could shoot each other with them. So we went out into his garden and started shooting them. And it was like, wow, these are awesome. And so then a couple of weeks, he'd gone and purchased a whole armory. And we had a boys' weekend around his in his plot of land and started shooting each other. And I was completely hooked. And that's how I got into airsoft. I was instantly hooked to sniping and the buzz of single shots, the cocking of the rifle and landing those single shots is like a hole-in-one in golf, where you just hit it and it just lands perfectly. And I was hooked to that, and I was hooked. As a kid, I was always into hide and seek, and I was just hooked on the sensation of not being seen and just landing those hole-in-ones. And I got into ghillie sniping pretty soon, within months. And I found I had a talent for sneaking about on the airsoft field. And in 2016, when Facebook introduced live streaming, I did my first live stream, and I was talking about upgrading my pistols and general ghillie crafting. I used to do a Friday Night Live where I used to talk about ghillie crafting and how to build my suits and tactics and the games we were playing and guests on. And then I started. My brother won a GoPro in a competition, and
Oh shit!
I I nicked it off him and started recording gameplay around the same time, just for myself to start with. And then I realised I was doing some pretty cool things. There's people who were making content like Novridge and Silo at the time, and I was thinking, yeah, that stuff's good, but I was thinking I'm a better player than those guys. But what I hadn't realised at the time was what they did with their videos was, and what I do with my videos now is they're amazing editors.
Mm-hmm.
And I started getting into trying to make gameplay, and it was took a couple of years, and then it was sort of 2018 when it all sort of clicked into place and everything started to take off. I got all the ingredients in the right sort of proportions and mixed it all up with the right clickbait, the drama of the videos, the action, and been able to translate that sneaky gameplay, the sensation I get when I'm sneaking around. That's very hard to get into an exciting film, because often a lot of what I do is sitting around, hiding in bushes, taking stealthy, long-range shots at people. And honestly, that's not particularly fun to watch because it takes a long time to do. There's a lot of editing involved in it. And some of these 10-minute videos I put out, some of that is sort of 5-6 hours of gameplay condensed into 10 minutes to make it exciting to watch. But I love being able to put across that sensation of sneaking around, hiding, jumping out on people, and scaring the shit out of people. I love that.
I watched. So after like a couple days ago, I watched your podcast with Novrich, and you were talking about that. Like how you like doing that, and you like you've always liked playing hide and seek and kind of sneaking and that kind of thing. That's pretty cool. Yeah, that's you're kind of like known for the headshot king of airsoft. And there's been, since that started, there's been like tons of like videos that people have made where they talk about your videos. And, I saw all kind of like military veterans talking about it and, commenting and reaction videos and that kind of thing. And, definitely, I'm not sure why. I guess I'm not sure where it started turning negative, or why it started turning negative. Because there's been sniping videos, like you said, Silo, Novrich, all over the place.
Yeah, I think I think I know where it started. I think half the problem, not problem, it is what it is. It's not a problem. It is what it is. When you get popular when I have millions of people watching my videos, when you have, like, I have something like 2.5, 3 million people a day watching my videos.
Right.
That's a lot of people. So you're always going to get a handful of people who dislike it. But the the sort of, I guess, the fuel of it started very early on in my filming when my channel started to grow. I At that point I'd already been playing airsoft for years. I've been around the community for a long time, and I
Hmm.
knew a lot of people. Um, I had some people, perhaps I was, as the channel grew, I was perhaps helping out, but I guess, formed allegiances with other companies, and some of these people who I'd originally was friends with, they saw me working with other companies, and perhaps they thought I should have stayed with them, and this kind of
Oh, okay.
caused this jealousy or pull and pull, and there were some conflicts, and most of these issues I've had, I can trace back to the people I knew before I was filming, and I
Hmm.
believe a lot of it probably comes from jealousy from those people. So there were
Right.
things that have been said by those people that perhaps carry weight within the community, the small
Hmm.
community of my local community. Um, and then that kind of snowballs and that turns into Chinese whispers and escalates. And people latch on to things they hear on the internet, whether
Sure.
it's airsoft, politics, sport. You hear allegations that sports stars have done this or
Yep.
they've done that, and people don't need proof. They just hear things. They say
Hmm.
where that comes from. I don't think it's very hard to put your finger on it. I think it's probably got something to do with the what's happened in society in the last decade since
Hmm.
2008, where we've had housing has become extortionately expensive. If you haven't owned a house, if you're young, you've had the largest transfer of wealth ever in history from young people to old people, from people who
Yep.
don't own houses to people who do own houses. So we've got this huge wealth inequality is being created in society, and people are very frustrated with what is going on in life. And I think they probably latch on to they're probably confused about why they're frustrated in life, and they latch on to something that makes them feel good in the short run, whether that's being anti headshots, because I think, yeah, anti headshots are bad. And if they're bad and I say they're bad, I'm a good person. And that makes me feel good for a minute.
Right.
Like Donald Trump, he said bad things about women. That's bad. Donald Trump's a bad person. I'm not a bad
Yeah.
person. Therefore, I'm good. I feel good now. So I
Yep.
think that's the kind of thing that happens. And that's got a lot to do with it. Um,
Right.
but yeah, your guess is as good as mine. That's my guess.
Yeah. Well, that's a good guess. I think you're right. Yeah, for sure. So so where you said you were you were working in this financials field.
Mhm.
Were you did when you grew up, were you into sports and that kind of thing, or not really? And then all of a sudden, just airsoft, you got all gung ho with it, or
My family have always been very into sports. I never really was as a kid. I never really latched on to anything that was um, took my fancy. When I was at university, I was studying economics, and I played American football for my university as a
oh
corner,
shit,
which I really enjoyed. It's not the same level as obviously playing at a university in America,
yeah,
but I did enjoy playing that. The Reading Knights I played for. Um, but that's the only real sport I did before airsoft. My family are all sportsmen. Back to my grandfather. My grandfather played cricket until he was in his 70s. He played football for his town until he was in his mid 50s.
damn,
And he was a very fit man. He was a prisoner with the Japanese in the Second World War
oh
and
wow,
survived that. And my father was a semi-professional footballer and he played golf at a high level. Both my brothers were semi-professional golfers. Um, so I've got sort of got it in my family genes, and then I guess
right,
airsoft was the first kind of thing sport I latched onto. I guess I was always the more academic in my family. I was always into economics and financial markets.
okay, yeah, because that's kind of a big change. It's working in an office, not really into kind of athletics or whatever, and then going into airsoft as much as you have. Like I could see, there's tons of stories and people I've talked to and met that have come from the business world like that, where they
Mm.
work in a cubicle and they don't really have a whole lot of outside they're not part of a softball team or a baseball team or whatever. They just never big into athletics, and then they go to airsoft, and that kind of thing. And they'll go, a couple times a year. But for you, man, you went like all in, because you haven't really been doing your channel that long. I know you played airsoft for longer. I think on your Navrich podcast you said like 10 years or 12 years or something like that you've been playing.
Yeah,
And
2010 I started playing, so about 12
yeah,
years now. But I didn't do my
so
channel until, yeah. It was really seeing, I guess it was, I guess it was, Novridge was probably the person who made me think, damn, if he can do it with his channel. I think at the time, I remember having a chat to somebody. I was at a field called the Sandpit, and it would have been around 2016. And I think Novridge had just passed 1 million subscribers. And at the time, I was thinking, wow, that's absolutely epic. And
yeah,
that kind of inspired, that had a lot to do with inspiring me thinking, yeah, I can do that.
yeah, that's cool. Hell yeah. Yeah, that's I always look for when people are when I'm talking with them, like how they got into airsoft, and it's a lot of it is a very similar story as that. Like their friend got them into it, or I've talked with a lot of female airsofters as well, and their brother, boyfriend, or whatever got them into it. And most of the ones I've talked with, once they went, man, they were like all in. Like everyone I've had on the podcast, they're not casual players. They go like almost every weekend. So
It's the best hobby. It's the best hobby. Like it keeps you fit.
yeah,
You get exercise, you meet people, and you've always got things to fiddle with and play with during the week. And
right.
then when you add editing and making films and content and being part of this community, for me, it's the perfect hobby.
Were
It's
you
all good.
into editing or anything like that, like filming? Were you interested in filming or taking pictures and all that kind of stuff, like before airsoft?
Yeah, I was actually into photography quite a lot
Okay.
um, years ago. I was also into music quite heavily. I used to run nightclubs and DJ at the weekends when I was
Oh
in
shit.
the city. I used to DJ all over the world, as far
Oh,
as
really?
uh,
Oh, that's wild. Okay. What kind of music? Like
old
dance music?
'60s soul and funk music, sort of mostly late '60s, early '70s, all rare 7-inch records, and Northern soul as well, like the '60s. It's kind of like Motown, but it's the very
Yeah.
rare, super rare soul
Oh,
sounds.
okay.
Um, so I used to do that quite regularly at the weekend. So and promoting clubs, I was always sort of into running nightclubs and sort of attention grabbing. And I guess another big influence on me was Gary Vaynerchuk. I don't know whether you've heard of him.
Huh.
He's a sort of social media marketing um, expert, I guess. Very big on social media. And in 2015, he kind of grabbed my attention, and he talked about. So he sort of talked about documenting, don't creating, and that's
Mm.
you don't have to be creative. You just document what you do, no matter what you're into. If you have a passion for something, this was a thing that really inspired me with ghillie crafting at the time. If you have and inspired me to share what I did, because
Yeah.
when I before the Kicking Mustang channel kind of blew up, when the likes of myself and my other sort of teammates would wear our heavily built ghillie suits, when you go to airsoft events, you'd always get people looking at you when you turn up in the morning and make funny Wookiee noises and go, "Oh, look at the walking bush" and all that. They used to make jokes. And of course,
Yeah.
by lunchtime, when you've been knocking them all around, they'd stop making the jokes by lunchtime. But that was a constant thing. Oh, they're laughing. Right, he's going to get it, and he's going to get it, and he's going to get it. Those ones who are laughing, and by lunchtime, they're like smile wiped off their face.
Right.
But this idea that if you have a passion and you just have one other person, like we're having a conversation now, we could be talking about, I don't know, we could be talking about painting eggs, or like we can have a passion for rocks, and as long as
Right.
we've got this passion between ourselves, all you have to do is document that, and then you scale it on social media by turning it into a podcast, by turning it into Instagram posts, Facebook. You could do blogs, podcasts, videos, short form, long form, and it scales because if the algos on the social media detect that if there's you and me talking and one or two other people pick up on it and they watch it and they share that passion and they join in and they start doing the same thing as us because they learn from us, then the algos on the social media will then start sharing it to other people who are similar to them. And all of a sudden, what is just two people talking about something really geeky scales, and two become four, become eight, become 16, become 1.5 million.
Yeah, exactly.
And then all those people in the morning, they stop making the Chewbacca noises, and they go, "Ah, look, they're those gillies. We should be really actually terrified of them this game day." And that's kind of what happened. This idea of documenting, not creating. Of course, I am creative as well, but that's where the inspiration came from.
Yeah. Yeah, that's yeah, they go from making Wookiee noises to oh shit, look out.
Exactly.
Oh
Yeah,
my God,
that's
that's funny.
social media, for all the evil of social media, for all the division it can cause. It's also incredible what it does to be able to connect people with passion for
Right.
anything, and
Yep.
to scale it to people all over the world. I dropped in on a podcast with some guys in Japan this week, who bought my ghillie suits, and they're passionate, and they're using my crafting techniques over in Japan. I see their posts on Instagram, and I don't understand much of what they're saying, but thanks to Google Translate, just connect to these people, and there's like the shared passion, and you
Yeah.
can't. The internet's absolutely amazing,
Yeah, it
but it
is.
can do
Yeah,
that.
I think there's way more good on it. I think the bad, or the bad people, whatever, they're just the loudest, like they never shut up about the negative. And then they get,
Yeah,
like five more people with them. They're like, yeah, yeah, say this, and yeah, they did this, and it's like they
yeah,
just post it everywhere. But there's way more good,
yeah. No, for sure. I think I in a weird way, some of these haters have been, in a way, I respect them in a way, because they're so damn dedicated, and they're
Right?
so consistent, and they're so relentless, and they just go and they don't stop every single day. The same faces turn up, and if they,
Uh,
in a way, I kind of respect their dedication. But I just know if they put that level of energy and effort into something that was positive, if they could just cut out those negative thoughts and focus on themselves and producing cool content, or doing something cool, or
right.
documenting what they're doing rather than trying to tear down other people, they could really
Hmm.
do something amazing with their life. And yeah, I really believe that. And it's weird,
Yeah, I do
in a
too.
weird way, I kind of respect them and feel sorry for them. And maybe that's
Yeah.
how I deal with it. But I think that's the right way to look at it.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I was talking with somebody not long ago, and I was telling them how, kind of like, what made me go in the military. So growing up, my dad was in the Navy, and then all his buddies were in the Marine Corps, and I was like, yeah, I want to be like these guys. Well, I'm like 8 or 9 years old. I was getting bullied by these two kids. I don't know, man. They were like 3 or 4 grades older than me. Uh, they would just beat the shit out of me on the way home from school.
Mm.
And I'm not talking about words. Okay. I'm talking punches. So not the bullying of today. Uh, and I was like, somebody asked me, well, you probably hated those guys. I was like, I did. I was terrified, growing up like that. But that's actually what made me go in the military. If I saw them today, I'd say thank you, because it made me into who I am today. And so I was like, I'm not against bullying. Like, oh, we need to stop bullying. Like, dude, it's made a lot of strong people in the past. I don't
Mhm.
like it. I wouldn't do it,
Yeah, I
but
wouldn't wish it on anybody, but it makes or
right.
breaks a person, doesn't it? It makes or break a person.
Yeah.
Um, Something happened to me in 2010, that when I was trading the financial futures market, I was self-financed, and my best friend um, was running the shop that I was clearing through. So I was self-financed. You put all your money in the shop. It's used for margin, and you trade. And it was with I essentially treated my finances like that shop was like a bank to me. I would keep
Mm,
all my wealth in my trading account, which is foolish at the time, but I trusted the people. Um, but net during the credit crunch, he used my funds and other people's funds to bet on the crashing stock market until the bank who the money was being held with pulled the plug on it. But over, net, it was about £500,000, and
mm,
um, yeah, that was quite painful. But it wasn't the money that I lost. It wasn't. It was the. It wasn't even just my job. It was my it was my lifestyle as well. It was the people I trusted. Everything,
Yeah.
like the rug was pulled, the whole rug of everything you thought was you were in control. Like you go into the office, you were like taking on the world every day, and you were trading
Yeah.
financial markets and up against the world, and you were in control of everything. And then all of a sudden, you realize you weren't in control of anything all along, and it was all a lie. The people you trusted were a lie.
Yeah.
And I ended up selling all of my super rare soul records, and I stopped DJing because I thought I'm going to win this. I'll take it to court. I'll sell my records to pay for lawyers. And unfortunately, due to the legal systems, it's all if you don't have the money to get it to court, you don't get it to court. And I ran out of money
Yeah.
before it went to court. So not only did I lose the money, I lost all of my lifestyle, what I loved, and my passion. And at the time, doctors, I was diagnosed. They said I had PTSD. Not, and I was like, get out of it. That's not. That's what happens in the military, where you go and get blown up and you see your friends
Yeah.
dying. They said, no, it's PTSD because this shock of your entire life has
Right.
changed. But those things, I went from being like depressed and thinking this is this is
Sure.
the world is such a shit place. But you get it dealt with, and I found that thing called airsoft, and I wouldn't change a single thing because it wasn't for that. I'd have never met my friend Sonny, who would never have introduced his son, would never have introduced me to airsoft guns. We'd have
Yeah.
never shot each other. I'd have never be where we are now, and I'm happier now than I ever have been in my entire life. Content because of the bad things that happened, and I
Right.
wouldn't wish what happened to me on anybody, but I'm super grateful it did happen to me.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. I
Same
mean,
story. You're saying.
yeah, that's well, I'm kind of an idealist, so I don't care about material things or money. I care about respect and trust. So, those things are way more important to me. Character, so I taught my kids that as well. And that is, I think a lot of these issues that people have, like you're talking about with jealousy and, all the negative people that talk all this bullshit out there. I'm always, when I see these comments, I'm always like, there, it starts in here, man. Like if you have a bad self-image, this is what you do.
Mhm.
People with bad self-images, I'm like, oh yeah, okay. They're jealous. Jealousy is fear. It's insecurity and fear.
Mhm.
Most of those insecurities are just fear.
Mhm.
It's because you don't have this self-confidence but those kind of people take circumstances that happen to them, and they'll be bitter, constantly. And
That's their
like
way
what
of dealing
happened to
with it.
you,
That's just
you
their
could
way
have
of
been
dealing
bitter.
with it. They don't know any.
Yeah,
Yeah, I could have been. And
you could
there
still
was
be
times.
bitching about it today. You could be
There was
like,
times.
this guy
hmm
fucked me over,
hmm
whatever,
hmm
but you don't.
hmm Yeah, no, totally. There were times in even 2014, early 2015, where when the internet was just kind of starting, and I was still angry then. Really, I was just still getting over it. It was like 3 4 years after what had happened to me. I think it was 2012 when I realised that I didn't have the money to take it to court. And for the
Mm,
next sort of 18 months, 2 years, I was just like so like messed up in the head.
sure.
And I was still at those times. I was saying things online to people within the airsoft community, on forums and on YouTube comments and things, just saying, oh, you suck, like sad things. Yeah, you suck.
Yeah,
Um, and all of a sudden, I sort of realised, what the f am I doing? Like, what am I
yeah,
doing? This is just dumb. Like, I just realised you're only just angry with yourself. Like,
yeah,
stop moaning and do something about it. And
absolutely.
that was, that really.
I went through the same thing, man. After I was sick, I had this really, the first time I got sick, I was gung ho as fuck. Okay. I was still like, man, I'm going to beat this thing. I'm going to,
The
I don't
sickness.
care. Guillain-Barré syndrome. I don't know if you ever, it's kind of like Lou Gehrig's disease. So, it's a nerve, attacks your nervous system. So I had a lot of nerve damage or whatever. So like, I had symptoms on a Saturday. By the following Thursday, I couldn't walk. Totally healthy, didn't feel sick. Just all of a sudden, my hands stopped working, my feet stopped working, then my legs, and then all the way up, and then I couldn't talk. And so, uh, but the first time it happened, I was super gung ho, like, I'm gonna get over this shit. I refused all treatment,
Mm.
and the doctors were like this and that, whatever. I'm like, I don't want anything. Because I asked the neurologist, I'm like, so what are the chances of this stuff helping? And he's like, honestly, like 50%. I said, I just won't take it then. because there's a lot of side effects. So anyway, I came out of that after about 4 or 5 months. Was able to, get out and start working again or whatever. And then 2 years later, it came back, and I was worse than the first time. So, man, I was kind of like you, man. I was depressed. I was angry. I was so angry. And my depression comes out as anger. So I always joke with my kids. I'm like, you can't hurt my one feeling. And they're like, yeah, your one feeling is always anger. But, because I've messed around with them, whatever. But I was really, just depressed for a long time, and kind of given up. And I was just talking shit. I was really in the same place with that, where I can understand how somebody, starts on this negative path. And you know what, doing the YouTube channel, especially these podcasts, when I first started them, I realized a lot about myself, that I create some really bad habits in my mental process, my thought process. I was like starting to say things like, yeah, I can't do this and I can't do this, which I had never said that before. I wouldn't let my kids say that when they were growing up. So I created some really bad habits because of this, being depressed. And really, depression, a lot of it is, or, especially for me, I'm feeling sorry for myself. So that's all I'm doing. I'm just, poor me, this happened to me. And so anyway, it was, doing what I'm doing now helped me get out of that, and talking with all these people in the airsoft community helped me get over a lot of things. It's been a good process, to go through.
I totally understand why you feel like that. It's natural. It's to be expected. And the most important thing we have is our health.
Yeah.
And when you lose it, just when I get a niggle with my knee and I can't crouch or run properly, I get super sad. But when you have something that been through and still going through, it gets you down, and it's very hard to get through it. I was listening to a podcast with an SBS operator who was shot in the neck and was paralyzed, and he's gone on and built a company, written books, even though he's paralyzed from the neck down. And he's amazing story, and he's got a very positive outlook on life. Now, it's the sort of thing you think that if you were shot in the neck and he's completely paralyzed from the neck down, you would think, well, I wouldn't want to carry on. It's
Right.
very hard to imagine how I wouldn't want to be alive. You wouldn't choose to do it. But in this story, he's had a really positive life since it's happened. And those stories are incredibly inspirational. And if you are able to produce, create, do cool shit, despite what happens, terrible things happen in your life, it's really inspiring, and you should be able to draw strength from that, because I really believe that the inevitable thing that is going to happen in everyone's life is something really shit is going to happen. Whether that's death, like you could walk out and just die tomorrow. Anyone could get hit by a truck and die.
Yep.
Or they could get paralyzed, or the person you love could just disappear. They could get injured or crippled, or you could get a disease. And it will happen to everybody at some point. Cancer, loved ones, the older you get, the more it happens. So the secret, I believe, to getting through life is to figure out how to deal with those really bad things that are inevitably going to happen. I don't think I ever aim to be happy. I just hope to have the strength to deal with the inevitable bad things that happen. And that's all I want in my life, the strength to deal with the shit.
Right. Yeah, I think I think it was your Instagram, actually. You posted something that said, a quote that was, I've heard for a long time: don't ask for an easy life, ask for the strength to, deal with a difficult one, or something like that, and
I think I got that from Jordan Peterson, which I think he's probably quoting. That's probably a biblical quote from somewhere.
Right.
I imagine it's got some roots in the Bible. I think Jordan Peterson?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So I think that's where I picked that one up from.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of his talks, read a lot
Yeah,
of his posts. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm saying, I like being inspired, so I want to inspire, Like I wanted to do things that would kind of help somebody in a situation, or if we're just having a conversation and I'm like, hey, like you can have a different perspective on things, and sometimes that's all that's all you need is to change, flip that switch in your head, like, hey, quit focusing on the negative in your life, have a drive and a passion for something. Like when people don't have purpose in their life, I think that's where a big part of, and I think that's why a lot of I don't think it's just the internet. I think, not to make this a whole, human thing or whatever, but the human condition, like we are meant to work. Okay. In my opinion, we are meant to do something constructive, productive, and with our societies being so convenient, I think that's where they're lazy and they don't like themselves for it, but they don't actually do the work to get out of it. They think in their head, most people think, and I did too, that the amount of physical work it takes to get over, to go do something, it's way more built up in your head than just go doing it. Like if you go, people think about working out or exercise, or, you're doing yoga, or like they build it up in their head so much, they overthink it so much, like, oh, it's going to be so much work and this and that. Like, dude, just shut up and just go do it. And you'd be like, oh, it wasn't that bad. And by the way, you feel fucking great when you're done. So, but I think a lot of these people don't have this.
Isn't there? I think there's two ways of doing that. I think you either have discipline, and you discipline yourself to do it, or you have to love it. And you discipline yourself if you know at the end of it you get something good out of it, or you can somehow get yourself into the mindset that you have to have a structure and the discipline to achieve something in life. And I respect that, and I have that in certain regards to like my editing process and putting videos out, I guess. But the thing that I think is really important is to have passion for something. And if you love something, it's never work. If you're addicted to something and you love it and you're passionate about it, it's never work. And that's what airsoft has become for me, an addiction, a love of playing the game, a love of editing, a love of sharing that passion and those moments, the excitement and the drama and the wow, did that just happen moments with people, and turning it into content that people who don't even play airsoft enjoy to watch. And if you love something as much as I love airsoft, it's never work.
Yeah, for sure. Now, do you like editing? Do you edit all your own videos?
Mm-hmm.
Every single one. Damn. Okay. Yeah. You got some really good edits in there, man. I saw the one a few months ago with, and I don't know when it came out. I just saw it a few months ago, but you had this, you were aiming on a few people that were kind of standing together, and there was a couple of females there, girls there that were like, and kind of looking around, and you had this, the music or the sound from the movie Predator, the Predator sound going on, and it was like zooming in, but you didn't take the shot, you were just watching. I thought that was so cool, man.
I was just being funny. I don't know.
I thought it was awesome.
It was funny at the time. That video was my first really viral video. There's a funny story behind that, and a lot of the hate that I get nowadays online actually comes from that video. There's actually some backstories to that. There was a guy in that video who is not taking his hits, and he's at the beginning of the video, and he's saying, "I don't want to be in this video. I don't want to be associated with you." And I said, "No, you don't want to be in this video because you're caught cheating." Before I put that video out, the guy in that video, we were friends for probably 4 or 5 years before that video came out. We were friends. We were associates. We used to play airsoft regularly at that site. The best man at his wedding was the owner of the site, and the godfather of his son was the tech at that field. And we were, it was quite a good community there at the time. But he ran this small sort of company of selling BBs and airsoft guns. And I'd kind of helped him out, but then I brought out my own brand of BBs that year, and he wasn't particularly happy. He was like, why are you doing this, James? Why didn't you speak to me? Why have you brought your own brand of BB out with that other company? We should have done it together. And there was this friction of me and this person who we were kind of friends with, and he wasn't happy I was doing my own thing rather than doing it with him. So there's kind of friction. He then started to spam my Facebook group with sales ads for his BBs. My Facebook group's got very strict rules.
Yeah.
It's called where you can't promote yourself. It's 5149. You got to make sure you give more than you take from the group.
Right.
Don't be. Even I don't put my own YouTube videos in there. Don't put links to your videos to promote yourself. Just give value. Give value. That's all the group's motto is. Just give value. Don't just take from everybody.
Right.
However that may be, you've got to produce. And he just kept spamming adverts for his BBs, and I was like, "You've got to stop doing this." He didn't stop doing it, so he was removed from the group.
Yeah.
He then went and created a group that looked exactly the same, Sniper Ops full stop, and it was almost exactly the same. And he started inviting other people, and then he got these other players from up in Scotland who ran this field in Scotland, and to come into my group and was spamming the same BB ads. So we're like, "Guys, stop! So you can leave as well." These players were from this field called Section 8. So they were kicked out of this group. And then this field up in Scotland goes, right, that's it, kicking Mustang. He's banned from Section 8 in Scotland. And I thought, well, that's kind of funny. I've never been. And you banned us. So that's where the first banning came from. And then there was this, he was part of this a troll group that was spreading lies. And before that video came out, there's this big argument. And somehow someone said that I was changing a spring in my gun that day. Complete lie, and just didn't happen. And there was a rumor that a child had been hospitalized that day, and I'd done it. Complete fabrication. Who knows where it came from, but it was put in this hate group of trolls, and that's where that this guy was part of. So I had a meeting. I had a meeting with him. So look, let's go and meet. And I actually got this meeting recorded on MP3. Still got it from back then. It was 2017, 2018. And I said to him, look, you've got to take this hate group down, this troll group, and please rectify these lies about what happened on the day, because you know these are not true. Right. And in return for that, I'll edit you out of the video. But I think this video is going to be a really big video. I think it's probably going to go viral. It's one of the most amazing pieces of footage I've ever seen. And he was like, yeah, right, no, it's not going to go viral. This video, yeah, your special video. I tell you what, if you put me on this video, I'm going to sue you and take you to court. And I was
for
like, what? whatever. And so,
God.
That video that you just brought up, that was the start. And so that video, I think it's early March 2018 or something. It might even be 2017. It might even be 2017, that video. I think it's 2017. And that's where a lot of this root of this kind of hate. So it's all rooted in original pre-kicking Mustang relationships.
Oh my God. Yeah, I had no clue. I honestly had all I saw was this, I'm watching it and I'm doing something else and I'm watching it. And I'm like, and I hear the predator noise. I'm like, oh, wait, what? And I'm looking and I'm like, oh, that's cool. Okay. So, I had no clue there was so much into that.
Yeah. So there's a lot of story behind that video. Yeah. So
why I don't get this troll thing. Like when we have live streams on our YouTube, I have a few moderators that that join and they'll take care of. They'll just kick people that are doing the same thing. Spam. Same with our Discord. We actually put a whole separate channel in the Discord server for promote your own shit kind of thing. Just do it in there. In that channel, you want to promote your own video, you want to promote your own thing, just do it and just have respect. I have one rule on our Discord. It's called respect. Okay. So if you can't follow that, then get the fuck out, so it's just so weird that these guys carried this on for so long.
Yeah. They're passionate. They're very passionate people.
I guess.
It is what it is,
Now, had you talked to this guy at all, or had any kind of conversation after the video did go viral?
No.
It
was the last time I think we spoke.
Yeah,
I think it was the last time. I think at the time I put that video out, I think my channel had maybe 10,000 subscribers at the time.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Yeah,
maybe a few more, might have been 10 or 12,000 or something at the time. It was just starting to get a little bit of traction. And then that video obviously went boom. I remember I put it out on the Thursday, and then that Friday I went to France to play at a place called the Bear's Head. for the first time. I remember being there that weekend. And everyone's like, "Oh my god, have you seen this Kicking Mustang video? It's going viral." Everyone's like, "Oh my god, look at that! Like 1 million views in the first weekend or something."
Oh,
And it
that's
was yeah,
crazy.
that's a good video, that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you travel. You went to France. You've gone. I saw recently you went to South Africa. Have you ever been to the States, the United States, to play?
Texas, yeah.
Oh,
I had
okay.
an amazing time. Yeah, I went to Texas. I've hooked up with a friend of mine, Pete, who um, is part of a team called Task Force Neptune, and his friends who run a group called Midwest Development Group. And they are really into airsoft and using it for real SEAL training, for sort
Nice.
of force on force action. And they're sort of big
Hmm.
into jujitsu as well, and survival, and
Oh, cool.
sort of yeah, sort of looking after themselves, sort of and a really, really good guide. They take it very seriously. The video from that event in Texas is probably my favorite video. It's about 45 minutes long. I don't think there's any. I don't think there's an airsoft gameplay video like it that's ever been made. It's like 45 minutes of like intense action.
Holy
And
cow.
that's my favorite video by quite some way.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. So going to the like you know your first ban from this. It's weird to me that your first ban from a field wasn't even about shooting people in the head. It
Mm-hmm.
was because these people were pissed about
Mm-hmm.
this trolling shit. So I guess is this did it snowball from there? Like with the being banned or the special rules, and then leading up to just the recent one.
I think that so the Section 8 up in Scotland banned me because I banned their organisers because they were
Right.
spamming their Facebook group with BBs. And then Dragon's Lair banned me after that video came out because the guy who was cheating in it, who ran the BB company in the UK and was selling little guns as well, he was his best man at his wedding was the owner, and the tech was his son's godfather. There was a big thing, and then like 4 or 5 days after the video came out, I got an email from the owner saying I was banned. They said it was because I shot a child in the face, but it was obviously, you can take from
Yeah.
that what you want. It was 4 or 5 days after the event, after the video came out. That there you go. So that they're the only, yeah, they were the first two bans, and then I think I was banned from. I think the only other places I've actually been to that I've been banned from is a place called Apocalypse Airsoft, where that's down in Kent, where there was so much cheating at this field. Like the cheating
Mm.
was so comical. So I'd go there, I'd make videos, and there'd just be crazy cheating, and the videos would go viral
Oh yeah.
because there was so many. Everyone loves a cheater, don't they? They love a cheater.
Right.
And then the field banned me because I was filming cheaters, and rather than them kick the cheaters out, all these people at the field were complaining about me. And so I was banned from there because of my cheater videos, and that's when my kind of this reputation started going a bit mad because I did maybe it was right, whether it was wrong or not. I did a response video saying, "Oh, there's a big thing going on here. I've been banned from Apocalypse." And the way they did it was outrageous. I turned up at the field, and in front of the whole safe zone, he raised his voice and made a big show of me being banned in front of the entire safe zone. So I went home and I was a bit like what the fuck, assholes,
Salty. Hell yeah.
really. And so I did like a live stream as soon as I got home. I was like, right, I've just got into Apocalypse, just got back. I want to tell you guys I've been banned because they're complaining that these cheater videos. And I said, look, if you've got a field and you've got cheaters and someone's there recording, you should use that as an opportunity to sort out the cheaters, not blah blah blah.
Right.
And I said, look, this is the field that's banned me, Apocalypse. Maybe you can go and let them know what you think about this, and maybe they'll reconsider their decision. And I think a load of people went on there and left negative reviews, which was not my intention. My intention was for people to say,
Right.
"What the fuck are you doing banning Kicking Mustang? This is crazy. Why don't you ban the cheaters?"
Right.
So that was another field I've banned. They're the only fields I've actually. Oh, there's one other field I've been to that I was banned from. The same reason. It was a field in Norfolk called Battlefield. There was a local team there called ADHD, the absolute knob jockeys, absolute losers, terrible players, busted and cheating on camera. And it's the video where I shoot this guy in the chest. He turns around and then I shoot him in the face. And he goes to the marshal and complains. He goes, "I've been shot in the face. I've been shot from over there," pointing in a completely different direction. I don't know if you've seen that video. And I memed
Uh.
him. And I used there's a film about the craze with who can't remember the actor, And in this film about the craze, he goes, "I came here for a proper gunfight. You know, what do you call this? These are not with proper men for a proper fight." And I memed that with this guy from this ADHD local team there. And obviously they then banned me because I was doing headshots, and that was the first field I was banned for headshots from.
Okay.
And they're the only fields I've been to that I've been banned. So there's 4. So we've got the list of 4 fields I've been to that I've been banned from. The first one was at Dragon's Lair for the reason we just touched on. Section 8, but actually I've never been to that, doesn't even count. Apocalypse for cheetah videos. Battleground for headshots. And they're the only fields I've ever been to that I've been banned from.
Yeah.
And then the list has grown.
So this recent post you did on Instagram where you screenshotted the, I guess, conversation or whatever, this person from this field, it was the day that I commented on it. There was something about special rules or whatever because they knew you were going to be there. Is that?
Yeah. Oh,
so
yeah.
is that
Sorry,
a different field?
There's one more field I've been to that I've actually been banned from. All the rest I've never been to that. So it wasn't even banned. I said I'd never go there. So I said I would never go there again. And they go, "Riley, you're not going to come here again. We're going to ban you." That's not how it works. That's not how it works.
Like, no, man. I fired you first, okay?
Yeah, exactly. I quit.
No, you didn't. I quit. I fucking quit, bitch. Okay,
yeah,
you didn't fire me.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what happened. So I went to this field, and they heard I was going because all these trolls were sending them emails and were saying, "Kicking Mustang's going. This is outrageous. He shouldn't be going. He's going to headshot everybody. What are you going to do about it?" And so when I turned up on the day in the briefing, this owner made everyone hold their hand up and go, "Right, okay, we've got rule number 1. I will not, under any circumstance, shoot anybody in the head." And everyone had to say it out loud. And this waiver everyone signed, rule number 1, under no circumstances will I shoot anyone deliberately in the head. And I was like, "What, is this fucking serious?" And me and Nico are looking at each other, "It's serious? What?" And people were looking and go, "What?" And then went to go and play the game. And I went around. I wasn't even using a rifle. I was using I had this idea to just use a 6-shot pistol because I knew the players at this field were kind of very average players. So I was just going to use this airsoft revolver with 6 BBs. That's all it had.
Yeah.
It's great, just fun content.
Yeah.
So I went around this corner with a 6-shot shooter, pulled the trigger into the shadows where I knew someone was, and next thing I know, this guy's going, "What are you doing? You shot me in the head." And I thought, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "You shot me in the head." And I go, "Well, shut up, moaning, mate." And he was like, "No, you shot me in the head." And I go, "Well, you're still fucking moaning. Shut up." And he goes, "Yeah, but you're not allowed to shoot me in the head." And I was like, "Get out of it." And then I did the video from it. I put the video up on YouTube. And in the video on YouTube, I said, this player, I realised this player's actually got a point. It's not my fault. It's not his fault. The field has said, under no circumstances, shoot anyone in the head. He's gone, "What are you doing? You shot me in the head." Apparently this player was a new player. He'd never played before. So he's been told this.
Huh.
So I said the field owner has created this issue by creating a big issue about moaning, about headshots, and all day that day there was moaning and issues on the day. So my point was, by implementing these ridiculous rules, you create more problems in your community. Exactly. So if more and more fields start to do this, we're going to have more and more problems. And you've got fields should not yield to these airsoft justice warriors demanding these ridiculous rules because it's just going to cause more and more problems. Exactly. And I did that. I said, I will not play at this field, and I will not play at any field that's got their rules of no deliberate headshots under any circumstances, because whether you do deliberate headshots or not, if you hit one accidentally, people are going to moan, and it just causes all sorts of problems. So I said, I'll never play at this field ever again. So they then did a live stream and said, "No, he's banned. He's banned because he deliberately shoots players in the head. He deliberately makes them bleed and injures them for YouTube video views. And he had a proper hot gun on the day." And,
God.
And so he made out I had this illegal gun, and I was deliberately injuring people for views. And he said, "I'm banned from this field and all other fields I run." And he called for all fields in the UK to ban me because I was giving airsoft a bad reputation.
Oh my God!
That was a year ago, and that kind of gave the whole thing a push again. So a whole bunch of other fields go, "Oh yeah, that's terrible. injuring players and shooting people in the head and causing problems. We'll ban him as well. I'm like, what?
Oh
Who are
my.
these people? So then,
I mean,
then I,
that's
then I
just
did
like
it.
that's just like the internet, right? Somebody
Yeah.
latches onto something and then, oh yeah, we're gonna do it too. Oh yeah, we're gonna do it too. They don't even know what the hell they're doing it for. They're just
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, this guy. Oh yeah, okay, we're doing it too. So what do
Yeah.
they? So they say you have a hot gun. Is this what are they thinking? You're you chrono and then you out in the field you swap out your spring.
You tell me, mate. I've no idea.
What are they doing?
No
Okay,
idea.
I got it.
It's just bizarre rantings of madmen. The I spoke to a solicitor. This is funny, right? I spoke to a solicitor after this field did a said I was injuring players, making them bleed for views on. That's terror. That's just defamation of character. It's outrageous.
Right.
I spoke to my solicitor, and he said, well, yeah, he looked at the video and he said, yeah, this is a very clear cut case of defamation. This is just clear cut. It's a very easy case to win. But here's
Yeah.
the problem: what damage has he caused? And he says,
Mm.
compared to last month, how many views have you got on YouTube? Oh, you've got more views. Okay. How many suits have you sold compared to? Oh, you've sold more suits. Okay, right. So, what do you want me to? What damages has he done to you, James? I'm happy to do it. He said, you can give me your money, but what damages do you want? And okay, fair enough.
Yeah. Right.
So I let him crack on.
No shit.
And that was
Well,
that.
speaking
And that
of
was that.
these rules, I feel like there needs to be less rules and let people decide because, like, like I said, I haven't played. I played paintball years ago for a handful of years. I know it hurts. Like when I the first time I went with my buddies from work, we wore we all just wear jeans and a t-shirt, and I did have a full old kind of face mask, whatever, with the goggles, kind of like the original style of like dye mask or whatever it was, but real soft on the edges. But anyway, like if we got hit, I remember the first time I got shot in the neck at close range, it fucking hurt. So the next time I went out, I put a wrap around my neck. Okay, we didn't make fucking special rules like don't shoot somebody in the neck. How about protect yourself? So I feel like that's how it should be. I feel like, like you said, the more rules they make, the more problems it causes. Let people decide. If they want to go out there with just goggles on and no face protection, then take the consequence. And I just saw this post yesterday from somebody. I don't really know who they are, but they had a picture of an X-ray. They got a BB stuck in there underneath their chin bone, right? Like in the skin. And I'm going, so I look at this person's Instagram and experienced player, whatever, looks like, a lot of posts and stuff. And I'm going, this guy never has a face shield on or, a full mask or whatever. That's his choice. But now the problem isn't that he posted the X-ray. It was the post about it was, make sure you follow MEDs and, don't shoot too close or whatever. And the FPS or joule limit. And I'm going, no, we shouldn't cater to that. You should protect yourself. If you don't want that happening, then protect yourself. Like, what is the big, I don't understand this make more rules shit,
No, I agree with most of what you're saying, without a doubt. The more rules there are, the more issues there are. Not just in airsoft, in society in general. I think more people should take personal responsibility for everything they do. Like, I can't, like even when people you hear about people who trip over pavements and they injure themselves and they sue the council.
They sue,
and then taxpayer. Like, why? Because you tripped over a pavement. Like, you should have watched where your feet were. Take responsibility for how you're walking. That's kind of my outlook on life. Unless there is somebody who has done something that's either malicious or completely, just dereliction of duty.
right?
Then sure, I think people should take responsibility for themselves. But what I think I would add to what you're just saying is I think you have your own personal moral framework. So there are rules in society, but we also have our own moral framework. Like speeding, for example, there is a limit on the motorway how fast you're allowed to drive. Most people go a bit faster than that. Some people go a lot faster than that because they morally make the decision, well, there's no one else around, it's not dangerous, I'm going to do it. So there are rules in place to stop people dying and being injured. People have their own moral framework. Some people think they should go less than that because that's within their own moral framework. But rules do get broken. And some rules are stupid. And only you and I as individuals can decide for ourselves whether we think rules are stupid. And you have, within ourselves, we have a moral responsibility to decide which rules to abide by. But you just have to realize that if you break certain rules, there are consequences for it. And for some things, for example, using an airsoft sniper rifle, I believe within my moral framework, I would not shoot someone really close range because I know there is a real chance that you could break the skin or actually cause a scar on somebody. So I personally wouldn't break the MED, but that doesn't mean I wouldn't play at a field with high power limits if everybody was agreeing to those high power limits, because within everyone's moral framework, they are willing to do that, and they're the rules you play by. But there are some rules, like airsoft fields. There's some airsoft fields are starting to ban heavy BBs, and really, like, they put a limit on the weight of the BBs. Some, and they argue incorrectly it's for safety reasons.
Yeah.
Which is not true, because as long as the gun is measured on the joules or the energy that's used, it doesn't matter whether it's a 0.48 gram, a 2 gram, or a 0.2 gram, or a fucking 2.5 gram. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the weight of the BB is.
Yeah.
As long as it's within the joule limit. And it's the difference between, like with BB, there's the difference between being a light BB is like being flicked like that. But the same energy is like, you could have a very, very slow but powerful poke. Which one hurts more, the flick or the slow, powerful poke? They're both the same energy, but one's a heavy BB, one's a light BB. So as long as it's within the dual limit, within my moral framework, I strongly disagree with sites that have BB weight limits, because I know scientifically and within my own moral framework, as long as the gun is within the dual limits that everybody agrees to, then there's no reason why you shouldn't use heavy BBs.
Right.
So that's an example of a rule that I strongly disagree with on moral grounds as a sniper, because the most advanced, the most important technological advancement in airsoft in the last decade has been heavyweight BBs. Before 2015, the heaviest BBs really we used were like 0.32s, maybe some 0.36s.
Oh, wow.
And above that, they were getting very dark colors or black. And you can't see that BBs fly. So the most technologically important advancement in airsoft was light, heavyweight BBs that allow you to shoot at much longer range, because the heavy BBs travel much further. You get them hopping, and that weight carries further. And so if you're into sniping, the art of long-range airsoft sniping, single-shot airsoft sniping, the heavyweight BB is the most important thing that you have in your arsenal. So for fields to start limiting weights of BBs, for me, is a step backwards. It's detrimental to the art of what I love doing. And within my moral framework, and within the moral framework of everybody who understands long-range airsoft sniping, we're all trying to get the hop and get BBs that are heavier and heavier as possible, the heaviest possible BBs as possible.
Yeah. Straighter and farther.
So that's a bit of a convoluted interruption to your idea of what you were talking about, morals and rules.
I get
it. Rules are interesting in society. Like if even like the mask mandates, they were the most absurd thing. There was never any scientific evidence that they, and even in 2 years, no one's ever produced any evidence that masks do anything to prevent or stop the spread of it. It was the most absurd thing.
It was so dumb.
And something like that is I felt a moral obligation to resist that at every possible opportunity until and that's another example of a rule that just because something's a rule, you shouldn't follow it blindly, because then you're just a brainless sheep. You should everyone has a responsibility to have their own moral, to trust their own morals and think for themselves and make those judgments. But always be aware that there are implications for not following the rules. And if you break a stupid rule and there's an implication for it, just make sure you don't get caught, basically.
Yeah,
And
right.
I'm sure if these trolls get hold of this podcast, they'll cut that up to say, "Look, kicking Mustang. He's trying to get everyone to break rules. He's dangerous. Ban him."
Well, look, these are recorded. I can cut it out if you want.
No, mate, it's fine. Listen, there's nothing I say or have ever said or done that I regret, and
Right.
I believe in what I say. I believe these are important things, not just within airsoft, but within society and being a
Absolutely.
member of society. These are important concepts to me.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I remember seeing the speaking of the mask thing, I remember seeing this video when they put out, they showed this like a infrared video side shot of somebody coughing or sneezing without a mask on, and then so you could see the spray, and then with a mask on, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, it does work," and I'm like, "No, it doesn't." Well, it works a little. No, it doesn't, because the virus is way smaller than your spit stuff, and I'm like,
Yeah,
dude, they don't understand. I was just, it's so hard
crazy.
talking with people that anyway, but yeah, when you have, I guess the same thing's happening with you with this
But
headshot thing and all
here's the
these
thing.
rumors.
People should be able to make their own choice. If people believe masks would stop the spread of that, it should be their own decision. And I wouldn't,
Absolutely.
I don't criticize anybody for wanting to do it, but I do criticize the implementation of a rule that does that,
Right.
or like the locking up of children, closing of schools. I
Yeah.
think that's outrageous, and we're
Agreed.
seeing like terrible consequences, psychological consequences
Hmm.
from that. And it was our duty. I feel to speak out about it. And at the time, I did speak out about it. And at the time, obviously, you're ridiculed and worse.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, morals, rules.
Well, I started
Um,
a YouTube channel. This is, I think it was before I started this one, or no, right around the same time. I started like 5 YouTube channels because I was, dude, once I was able to get out of bed and kind of walk down here and get here and do some, move my hands and get on here, I was, I was like, oh, I'm going to start this and I'm going to start this. I was just going crazy. I just needed something to do. And so I started one where, when all that stuff started happening with COVID and everything, where I was talking about it and I was talking about, it got shut down, like completely
dangerous,
taken down.
dangerous talk. No, you can't talk
Like
about it.
dangerous ideas, okay, James? You cannot say that masks don't work.
You can't have discussions. You're not allowed to question.
I was like, what? Okay, that's weird.
Now
Uh,
you're allowed to. Now you're allowed to.
yeah, makes sense. It makes sense. Well, it is comical. It's comical, and it would have been funny at the time if there wasn't so many bad things going on, like you said. With the shutdown of schools and the people being
Mhm.
isolated from their loved ones or whatever. Just the overreach of these
Yeah, the
governments that were
cost.
doing that.
We're facing the cost of it all now as well, aren't
Right.
we? Of course, with this mass. They're using Ukraine, which is having an effect on inflation, but it's not
Mhm.
the
No.
primary or only cause of inflation.
No.
We've had this is just a there's all sort of things that have happened in the last 10 to 12 years, and it all comes down to having too loose monetary policy, too much quantitative easing, and governments borrowing and spending too much, and they just fired from the hip during COVID instead of
Yeah.
raise with what they did. They should have been raising interest rates during COVID to slow down the spending. But the governments are just dishing out cash. They can't just dish out cash left, right, and centre and expect there to be no consequences. And we're facing those consequences of lockdown now.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting, this conversation. We've meandered and gone around to covered a few different topics, but I do think it's all interrelated and going back to trolls
Sure.
and haters and what is going on in society right now. Haters and trolls. It's a symptom of the frustration that people feel, especially when they can't quite put their finger on or understand what it is that is
Right.
causing what is going on now in society.
Or the
And
solution. I think a lot
mhm.
of people get frustrated, and that's one of the reasons, I never really got into watching the news. And when I was laid up, I did a lot more of it, and especially because there was a lot of, shit going on. And man, I think, it was a really negative thing, but there's all these people that are just so attached to this whole, you know, do whatever is, you know, promoted on media instead of thinking about what they're doing. And yeah,
Mhm.
it's a frustrating thing. They get ramped up and amped up about all these. Oh yeah, I get it. There's this going on. There's this going on. This is wrong. This is wrong. But what do I do about it? Like,
Mhm.
and I think that's where the news is the negative part. Like they're informing, yes, but what do we do about it? And there's no channel or news or whatever that's going to tell you, hey, here's some steps you can take to, you know, how about being involved in your local voting? You know, how about being aware of who's making these choices for you to live by,
Mhm.
and where that comes from, and where, you know, who's doing all this, and how can you, you know, solve it. So people are frustrated because they don't know what to do. They know the problems, they don't know how to fix it.
Yeah, maybe there is no way of fixing it, and
Yeah.
that's the other thing. Maybe there is, and this is where it comes down to mindset and keeping this sort of positive outlook on life, um, and relishing dealing with difficulties, learning to learning to enjoy the process of difficult challenges.
Hmm.
And we're living through a very difficult time at the moment. So um, yeah, if you can figure that out, I think you've got a good chance of getting through it. If you can't figure it out, you've got a good chance of turning into quite a bitter, hateful person. I think
Bitter, man. Yeah, for sure.
that's it. And I wish everybody luck. And I don't have ill feelings towards. Well, maybe two or three, maybe a couple of them I do,
Right.
but generally, 99.9% of those people, I don't have ill feelings towards them. A few of them, there might be some personals, but no,
Yeah, man.
most of them, I just feel I wish them well in their lives, and I hope they can figure out what it is that's making them angry. I hope everyone can figure out what it is that they need
Yeah.
to do and to find stuff that people love. I genuinely feel that. I wish everyone could find passion and love that I found in airsoft and
Hmm.
content creation. I wish that for everybody.
For real. Well, man, it's been great talking with you. I'm really glad we got to meet. And you know, obviously, you know, huge fan of your channel and what you're doing, and keep doing it. So
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on, and thank you for spending the time with me.
absolutely, man.
It's been a really good chat, and you keep on doing what you're doing because it's. I think people should take inspiration from what you have done. Oh, pal. I think people should take inspiration from what you've done and are doing, and the way you're
Thank you.
enjoying the process of reaching out to people, speaking, creating content, and scaling conversations.
Hell yeah. You too,
Good
man.
stuff.
Well, I do have a quick question for you. The rifle in the background, is that one you use?
I was thinking of using it this weekend. It's a Car 98. It's one of my favourites, but I don't use it that often.
It
Um,
looks awesome. Yeah.
it's pretty cool. It's wooden stock. It's a spring bolt action. I like it with the iron sights. I put the scope camera underneath it.
Oh
It's
wow.
solid. It's quite quiet. I like the iron sights, and it's one of mine. It's an old reliable gun. I've not used it for probably 2 years. I reckon was the last time I used it, so I thought I might bring it out and give it a go. This was sent to me by a company called Swit Airsoft in Taiwan. Yeah, it shoots nice, good gun.
Nice.
I do like old guns. I've got some other weird. Oh, this is a fun one. This is a Japanese Arasaka Type 98. I
Oh
like this.
wow.
I've not used that in a while. This is lovely. It's got like
Oh, that's
the
cool.
original the original monopod on it, single monopod.
What? I've never seen one of those. That's cool.
This was used by the Japanese snipers, and when when these were brought back, a lot of the American troops brought these back from the Second World War. The scope in 1945, America had a ban on telescopic sights. So when they brought the rifles back, they had to take the scopes off. So all the rifles came back with a scope separate to the rifles. Now these rifles, the scopes are not adjustable. There's no windage on them.
Oh
So
wow.
in the factory, the crosshairs are tuned exactly to where the rifle was shooting for each individual rifle. So when they took the scopes off, when they landed in America, you can often find these rifles with scopes in America, but the crosshairs are always off
They're
where
off.
the bullet is, and everyone's like, "Well, I can't adjust them." Well, that's because you've got to find the right scope for the right rifle. And obviously
Yeah,
there
they
are
had the wrong
hundreds
scopes.
or thousands of them. So if you've got one of these, a real steel one, apparently, and you've got one that matches the scope to the rifle, you've done very well for yourself. But this is actually quite fun as a gun. The scope's got the real crosshairs in it. Yeah, it's a fun one. I like these old
That's
replicas.
pretty cool.
But
Yeah.
yeah, they're fun to use.
Now, is that one
Well,
adjustable? That scope?
no, that's not adjustable.
Oh,
and
okay.
the BBs don't quite go in the dead middle, but it's pretty accurate. But they're just
Okay.
off somewhere on the scope, so always got to aim off. It's kind
Yeah.
of fun.
Just use some, a Kentucky windage, what we call it,
Yeah, something like that. I've not got too many. I don't think I've got any other interesting. They're all sort of packed away.
What's the pistol you're holding?
Well, this thing.
Yeah.
A Tokyo Marui HK45.
Nice.
I like Tokyo Marui. They're plastic, but very, very solid. All of my pistols I use in field are Tokyo Marui. Because of the plastic slides with the blowback action, they're very reliable. They're very snappy and very accurate pistols. These pistols, the Tokyo Marui pistols, a lot of them are probably more accurate out to than a lot of the real steel versions. Like my MK23, this one here, I can hit targets with this pistol at 70 or 80 meters. Now, I presume you, as an American, you shoot pistols.
Yes.
So it's not very easy to hit targets at 70, 80 meters with a handgun, is it?
No.
Some of these airsoft pistols, especially these MK23s, you can hit targets more accurately at longer range than a real steel pistol, which is quite something.
Yeah, that is wild. Yeah, we got one of those. One of my sons bought one, and we tried it out. And it's the Novrich one, right? The Novrich?
This one's a Tokyo Marui, but Novrich.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're non-blowback, so they've got
non-blowback.
Yeah,
I like that.
Makes it very, very quiet, and there's a certain knack to it because when you pull the trigger and it's non-blowback, you've got kind of it's not quite stable. So there's just a knack to it. Just pulling the trigger, you've got the bite point, and then you let go. But if you get good at this, and you get good at the technique of shooting these non-blowback MK23s, this is probably my favourite. In all the years I played, this is probably my favourite airsoft replica. Silent. They can lift heavy BBs. I use 0.48 gram BBs in them. They're accurate out to 70, 80 meters. I can hit targets. Very, very good guns.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite pistols that we got in one of the boxes, or that one of these guys bought, compared to all the other ones we got. And these guys didn't like it. They were like, "Oh, it's not blowback." I'm like, "I like that. I like that." Like when you're shooting real steel, most of the time, and I was more of a long range shooter. I like sniping, the long range shots with iron sights. Not, I wasn't. I used scopes. I hunted. As an adult after I got in the military and stuff. But I love iron sights. Like trying to shoot long range with iron sights, and but the pistol stuff, like you're right, man. It's super hard to hit long range with a pistol unless you practice a lot. But I loved this non-blowback gun when they got it. I was like, dude, this thing is quiet. It shoots really far and it's efficient on gas. So I was like, what's not to like?
And yeah, no, totally. Yeah, and I like this. I like the sound of them on video as well. It's got that sort of thud on video. It's kind of cool. They're good guns. But nice. Airsoft rocks, and you rock. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. You have a good night.
You too. Peace.